to the 0.8 devlog for my game NeoMecha. NeoMecha is a turn-based strategy attempting to capture the spirit of G Gundam. Combat up until now has been lacking. Watching a replay is awesome, but playing is pretty meh. In replays, mechs are moving around, attacking. It looks awesome. During gameplay, you do a lot of moving to the enemy. You hit them, they hit back. Sometimes there's a dodge. It's just not as interesting as a replay. To make the gameplay more dynamic, I added a sidestep and attack option. It certainly looks cooler. The question then becomes, should the player move with every attack? Or should it just be some attacks? I'm gonna have to think about that for a bit. The melee reaction is really easy to counter. You back up and shoot them. When this happens to you, it sucks. You would have been better off just blocking. To make sure the melee reaction is useful, even in this situation, I added a 20% damage reduction buff against ranged attacks. You're still taking more damage than if you would have blocked, but the chance of doing reaction damage is worth it. There are so few animations and sound effects that melee combat feels pretty hollow. I put in a slash effect similar to the explosion when you're hit by a blaster. It's an improvement, but I think I'll swap it out later for something different. While I was working on the melee sound effects, I found some stingers that'd be great for the end of a match. Using the range reaction is always the best choice. Unless the enemy dashes, you're guaranteed a hit. Combine it with reacting on movement, and you can potentially get 2 hits for every enemy action. To make it not OP, I changed the range attack so you can't target the tiles immediately around you. This might be going a bit too far, because now range reaction is only useful if you are completely out of the enemy's move range, which only happens for the first few turns. But I'll keep it and see how it feels. Previously, I added phases to your turn. You use your actions, press end phase. Use your reactions, press end turn. I like this for new players, but once you know what you're doing, the extra end phase is really annoying. To make the experience good for both groups, I set up the first phase to automatically end if you use all your action points. Before, reaction icons told you whether someone said offensive or defensive reaction. When there were only 2 options, melee or dodge, this worked just fine. Now that there are 4 reactions, melee attack, range attack, block, and dodge, it's not enough information to plan your attack. I added icons for each reaction. It doesn't tell you exactly what they're going to do, but knowing what type of reaction to plan allows you to plan your attack appropriately. Sometimes when setting up my reactions, I make a mistake and I want to undo it. An undo button is clearly needed. Undoing individual reactions could get a bit tedious, so I went with a button that resets all reactions. This was probably the first hard thing I did this version. I updated the blaster to be able to pierce through targets and hit up to 2 additional targets. This really made the game feel more fun. There's something about all the extra damage that makes the game feel more alive. What made this hard was that I had to make a braking change so that the obstacles take damage when a projectile hits them, instead of after all the obstacles were hit by the projectile. I could watch this all day. At this point I decided to work on the logo. I added a cord to the Neo to make it look more like a neon light. I didn't like how the corners turned out on the mecha in the last version, so I reworked them. And then I added a glow from the Neo to the mecha, which I may replace later on with an in-game glow effect. I also tried adding some metallic shine, but it looked terrible and I took it out immediately. The result looks better, but something's still missing. I can't put my finger on it. It probably needs that in-game glow effect. The plan is to have anything you can do as an action, you'll be able to do as a reaction. The only reaction I was missing was smoke. I think this one's pretty cool because you can set it to activate on movement, which you can use before you've found the enemy, creating a smoke screen if they get the drop on you. The problem with implementing this was that the smoke only kinda worked before now. It would prevent a range attack, but only if the visibility was completely blocked. I had to rework the smoke so that any range attack will miss anything in the smoke, but it will hit secondary targets behind the main target. This plays pretty good. The smoke is a good counter to a range attack, but it does feel too powerful. I may have to make the smoke a limited use action. I'm still trying to work out what kind of AI opponents are fun to fight. I tried setting up a purely range-focused AI. It's too easy to counter. All you need to do is move close to attack and use smoke to prevent it from attacking. It needs some sort of close range counter, like a shotgun that works even in smoke. I'll add that to the list. I then tried a mid-ranged AI. This one's actually pretty fun to play against. Its moveset is pretty simple, but it's non-trivial to counter. I plan to have 3 tiers of AIs: easy, medium, and hard. This one could be a later easy, or maybe even an early medium. Well, that's enough for this version. I'm gonna call it here. If you made it this far, thanks for watching. If you want to see more, like and subscribe.